Okay.
Yeah, 5:38, we'll open the workshop up.
Yep.
All right, so at our last meeting, and I think it was at our last workshop, we discussed having an addendum to the bylaws, which was that give good neighbor policy.
Yeah.
Have you got a copy of that? Bob's got.
I brought it straight, yeah.
Okay.
That one or two.
Worksheets. Just tell you that.
There's your jacket. Thank you, Bob. I brought it over once, but you weren't there. Oh.
Under our way.
So this is the same thing we looked at.
Yeah.
We just didn't move forward with it at the time.
So this, we were thinking about it, inserting it on page 6 of the bylaws, after F, it would be G. And I don't, so what do we think about that?
I'm good with it.
You good with it?
I mean, it's just a good neighbor policy.
Yeah.
Just to let people know.
Yeah. Yeah. You get a copy of that 30 days or?
Yeah. Bob just gave it.
Yeah. So we have to,
Just make a motion to,
yeah.
okay, no,
Can we do that at the
we
workshop?
can't do it.
We can't do it workshop, yeah. So we'll just do that. Okay.
Okay.
Everybody's all right? Good.
So everybody's good with it? Okay.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else they wanted to discuss at this workshop?
I saw that, I don't know the place for it, but the surveyors were down surveying. It had to do with the speed project then. There was a market on the marathon over there. And they were, builder requested it because of the water. The water level and stuff. And I said, what was he passing last week?
Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
Because he said, the speed was over here. I said, now what do you say? Can you do that?
Mail it to
I said, I'm on the planning board, I'm supposed to know things.
Probably.
Because I'm surveying for the Spiel project. I said, they're down there. I said, they over here?
Yeah.
This was in the office, just here, and the roots is a big.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's the thing, is finding more.
No, yeah, no, that's, that one's right in front, so.
I'll see what I can do, sorting that out.
So everybody's good with that, and we'll just add that in.
Perfect.
Page 6.
Sorry, I'm late.
Good. Actually, it's probably on page 7, so probably no room on page 6. Have to add another page, I guess.
You've got a mistake on this thing already. For major projects, and decided major, and then down here for projects classified as major.
That's the voting matrix, but Garrett printed out the entire ordinance.
Are we gonna?
Good reference item, I guess. But so, yeah, we'll still just use this one, but that's.
We're not using it just to vote on it.
That's what I'm,
I don't think we have. The second part of it, which is down here,
It's not a site plan review.
it combines with some of the workshop.
Yeah.
Site plan, side of this one down here, which is all the information.
Yeah. Right, you get to that, yeah.
Yeah, this is our. We should, I would think our files.
I would think we would.
He's old business.
Yeah, I thought it kind of ran over.
yeah, there's gotta be a way to tighten that up.
I don't think we want to. coast there.
Good, yeah. Yeah,
Size things up, did you?
I did.
Did we have sidewalk minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, did I include them?
I don't think I got a copy of it. Yeah, I got it there.
Oh, no, the sidewalk minutes, they weren't,
I got
if
it.
you picked up your packet early, you didn't get a copy of it, just because it wasn't done.
You were there,
I
so-
emailed it to you guys, but if you want a physical copy, I can.
He's got mine. I wasn't there, so it
Okay.
doesn't matter.
No.
Okay, you want any critique of this thing?
What's that?
Want any critique of this thing?
Critique it?
Yeah. Right here, because we had this discussion about where is it posted? The town manager says, MMA says all they have to do is post it on the front door. But that's not what we've always done.
Hasn't been a policy, yeah.
But we, then,
Yeah, 'cause we usually put it, what, at the transfer station
the
in Jordan,
Jordan's in the post office.
the post office.
Awesome.
So should we put that in here?
But that's an well, I don't know, yeah.
That's okay.
I don't think so at this point, but I
Yeah,
think we'll go back at some point and do that. but-
yeah,
No.
yeah.
This is, you're just running this one through the first time?
Yeah, yeah, if we don't do it tonight, it's not gonna get on the town meeting, so.
But we can make adjustments to the,
Yeah, we can make a comment to that and say that's a possible change if we want to do that.
I think that would be,
Let the select board figure out how they want to do that.
Yeah, especially, I think we'll do it.
We can take comments.
so don't you think it should be stated, David, about posting it down to Jordan's and at the post office and the transfer station?
He posted it at the library as well.
I think it might, say posted at, frequently highly visible places around town or something.
Yeah, three bills
Rather than, like, we didn't name, we weren't supposed to name newspapers in this one either.
That's right, yeah.
But yeah, it should be there. And I think we are not doing anything improper or whatever if we change that so that it goes on the town warrant after this meeting. As long as it's not a significant change and it doesn't affect
The ordinance?
the ordinance
se.
whatsoever.
It's just, no, it's just to let the public know where to find them.
So,
I was looking down here, the town manager says, MMA says all they have to do is post it out here on the front door. Well, if you want people to know what's happening, not everybody runs up the town hall every day.
So we could say something like posted at several obvious places in town. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah,
Oh, all right. What was that one?
it's on the public hearing.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is the section.
Halfway down through
Yeah.
it. The town shall also cause notice of the public hearing to be published in the 2 newspapers, blah, blah, blah. And then it should be,
So it says the town shall publish notice on the town's website. Prior to maintenance of plans to information.
see, that's all it says,
So
the
we
town
could,
website.
that's why we could put it right there.
Yeah,
So publish notice of the meeting at the town's website,
as well as,
as well as posted several obvious places in town, something like that.
Shouldn't it, I mean, it's always been posted at the transfer station. Transfer station's always gonna be there anyway, so.
but nobody's, the town manager didn't understand that's where most of us get our information is the transfer
Yeah,
station.
Jordan's store. and-
Jordan's still the transfer station.
And the public library. Yeah. Like, those three places are probably not going anywhere soon.
No, we're fine.
Maybe not.
And that would change it, the town shall provide evidence to the planning board that the required notices have been mailed and that the required notices have been published.
Yeah, so we could make that recommendation to the select board. Yeah.
Transfer station and library. You're at the town hall, also at the town hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't it say, it does say the town
Because
hall.
that's all, that's all the town manager understood, is that the job was supposed to be.
Now, it's town office. Not down there, it's up here. Let's see. Where does it end?
Say what? It doesn't say anything.
You're saying there's an omission of that?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree with that. It doesn't affect content. Right.
Right.
All right.
So we could make recommendation, should we make recommendation with the U.S. Review Committee, make a recommendation to the select board, or should the select board make a recommendation?
I think the planning board owns it.
Should the planning board make a
Yeah.
recommendation to the
I
select board?
mean, they've handed it off to us,
Okay.
and now it's out, we have to hand it off to them.
You just want to change it so it says several places in town, yeah.
But it's not changing the integrity of
It
the,
should be put maybe, I don't know, down the store, the post office, the library and stuff.
the transfer station.
Transfer station.
And the thing of it is, who does, is Jim has done that in the past.
Okay.
So just several locations, not name any place?
No, I mean, who's gonna post them? That's,
If it's,
yeah.
if you're doing postings for like planning board meetings and stuff,
Yeah.
that would be me.
You,
I do
yeah,
postings.
yeah, because it was the town, wasn't it the town clerk before?
Yeah,
What's it called?
well, Christina was doing it before I got here.
Okay.
but you don't run around posting it at Jordan's store and.
I go to the dump, I go to the post office, the library, and,
Jim Palmer
Jordan's
was,
store.
yeah.
Okay, as long as somebody's doing it.
Yep.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
you have to be a constable to do it. That's why they made Jim Palmer a constable a year ago.
Oh, is that what you sure?
Yeah, pretty sure.
So is that why it's not in here then?
Yeah, well, everybody's, they're like constable, I'm a constable, but he's not qualified. So the questions
Okay.
were asked, and he was made a constable so that he can place the postings around
So
town.
we wouldn't want to put that in the ordinance?
Well,
I did hear that today, I was at the transfer station and Jim was there and he's like, I'm a constable and this is what I'm doing. And I was like, okay, that's all, but, yeah, just to,
regardless of who's doing it, that's their business in there. We should have it in there, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Sounds like an archaic rule. You get to be a constable maybe.
Yeah, no, I can add that to my title. I just got a card, professional card, I can scribble constable on there as well.
There you go.
Anybody here remember old Mr. Googans, the Sheriff Googans? Two-gun Googans? He used to have a 10-gallon hat and he ran and drove around in his car, and his little tiny man, and he used to do all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think they had one of those in Wyndham years ago too, I know.
But he had his two guns, I mean, looked like Hopalong Cassidy, you know?
That's funny.
All right.
Anybody got anything else? No?
Looks like everybody has light copies, so the titles as we go along.
Yeah. Yeah, that came in the package, so everybody should have it, yeah.
Yeah. So are they set up that way? Oh, they're all packaged.
So we're gonna take these one by one.
One by one.
Yeah.
And of course, these are all more that say strictly updating existing ordinance.
Let's get a color once, Paul. What color are we starting with, gentlemen? Oh, David's colorblind. All right.
That color.
That color, okay, got it.
I may have left that out in the cabinet, go ahead. I can look at it if we need to. That's right.
I'm gonna go right up
By
and
the way, what color is that color?
yellow.
Mustard.
Yeah, it's not really yellow.
What kind of peachy or something? I don't know.
I have a cousin who was totally colorblind.
Yeah, I'm not,
He only sees gray.
yeah, my father was like
Is it a
that.
black and white TV or something? That must be down. Well, it must be something like
His
that.
mother taught him how to hang his clothes in
Well,
the
if you don't,
closet so he could.
if you don't know what you're missing, then you don't miss it, right?
That's me. If you have questions regarding the dispute contact, check the email address.
Paid for a terrible time in kindergarten, though. Being colorblind? Yeah. You're like, you get these basic colors, right?
Right.
It's like, what kind of dummy are you that you don't know what you're basic?
Well, the other,
They weren't quite so kind back then.
no, no, you probably crack your knuckles with a ruler.
I understand.
My first grade teacher, I wanted to learn how to write my name in cursive. It was so important to me, and I never taught me how to do it. Somewhere between the kindergarten and the first grade, first day of school. He just says, write your name in the upper right-hand corner. And I wrote it in cursive. She came over and cracked my knuckles with a ruler and said, I haven't taught you that yet. The whole rest of the day, but I think, but I know it, you don't have to teach me.
What's your name?
There's no,
Garrett Landuse?
Gary Jones.
Kidding.
What's that mean?
So that would be Lotus, no. It's an acronym.
He's a great
for-
asset.
Yeah.
You're,
Yeah.
He's got both of you all the time.
Yes.
This is the audio.
Yes, I remember those days in school, particularly parochial schools and stuff, they were really tough that way.
this was public school.
I had a bunch of,
All these years later, I still remember so vividly.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I don't.
Don't forget that stuff.
Do we have
Marcy got
definition
whacked
table?
several times.
there isn't a, probably isn't a full word.
Oh, I tried to switch him to
So.
right
then
handed, and he you gotta start. My grandmother was born in Red Bull.
I don't.
They didn't try to make him right handed.
Like, so it's a conversation.
It doesn't make you nervous, just
You're around
when I was in high school, I was supposed to go to a tournament to Missouri for basketball.
This is the water down here.
And
Who's in charge of determining
You could be.
if your product can be,
for the time that we were gone.
it has to stay seasonal
And I
or
had
It can be converted.
So,
Well, I had to get it done, I couldn't write, this was in the past up to here. I still practice, I refuse to let that stand out, but
You take
I'm
my
just so near.
I was gonna
25
say-
hours a week,
It almost-
$21
So-
I've been lying, I'm gonna check this that one.
No bad.
Wow, it's good to see you. Feel like you just got off the beach.
I wish. Feels like it though today, doesn't it? Didn't it? Oh, wow. Put this on, I didn't even know it was gonna be that kind of day.
look at the, when they must have been close to 80.
It was
My truck's
70
almost 83, there's a bridge around.
How many was it? I was 78.
I have to pay them. Oh, yeah.
Specific, I can about that design, right? Now it goes.
And this is the water right here.
You know Richard Garrett? They just got back into the islands down off in Florida that he spoke to, and he's got a couple of shacks down there. He said he took a
And
look
then
14 days on a drop of rain.
no salmon.
So he missed it all.
I went down to, my son plays baseball. I went down Friday night, drove 7 hours, I drove another 2 hours Saturday.
That's all.
Oh, that's different,
Pouring rain early morning, got out of Pennsylvania. As
long as you got floods like
I got one, Charles.
I don't feel so bad now.
Drove back, I got back to Massachusetts that night, temperature, pouring rain, blowing cold.
Right.
I don't have to go to Bahamas, it's gonna be to Pennsylvania.
6 o'clock, we'll open the public hearing. So first on tonight's agenda, we have a public hearing for proposed ordinance changes relative to amendments to the land use ordinance to include updates to residential uses in the schedule of uses, amendments to the land use ordinance to require financial guarantee for projects undergoing site plan review, amendments to the land use ordinance to include changes to the planning board's completeness of application, determination and procedure for notifying abutters, amendments to the shoreline zoning ordinance regarding land use standards applicable to accessory structures and allowed uses, and amendments to the floodplain management ordinance recommended by the state. The purpose of this public hearing is to give potentially affected people an opportunity to offer oral testimony in support of or in opposition to an application. Or in this case, it would be to the ordinances. The resultant opinions and evidence submitted create a part of the record upon which the planning board must base their decisions. But that doesn't apply to this because this is just a public hearing. We will now open the public hearing. At this point, would anyone wish to speak on the ordinances? And first, the first ordinance that we would speak on would be the amendment to the land use ordinance of the town of Sebago, including updates to residential uses and the schedule of uses, which is, if anybody has copies and they're colored copies, it's this one here. The change to this ordinance is... Louder? Okay. The change to this ordinance specifically is under residential uses, number 7, accessory apartments. The change is from planning board use to the CEO under both rural residential districts and rural districts. Does anybody have anything that they want to comment about this ordinance change? Seeing none?
David?
Yes.
May, this is not specific to that, but if I may, I heard discussion about the 25, doing away with the 25-foot setback.
Yeah, we're not discussing that tonight. That's not going to be in this schedule.
It's not in the hearing nor in the warrant?
No, not at this point, it's not, no.
Okay.
So the next one is under section 7, site plan review financial guarantee. It's just a one-word change. The planning board, it's going to change from the planning board may require the applicant to show financial capacity to complete the development as approved, and may require the posting prior to final approval of any plan of a bond, letter, or credit of escrow or escrow agreement in such amount as approved by the board as being reasonably necessary to ensure completion of all improvements required as conditions of approval of such plan in such form as approved by the planning board. And so the word that we're changing is the planning board, we're changing it from the planning board may to the planning board shall. And that's the change in that ordinance. Does anybody have any comment on that?
How is that gonna be implemented? Sorry. Man.
Well, they would have to show capacity to be able to pay for, to finance the project. It's not a may, it's
Oh, well, I
not
understand
gonna
that.
be a may,
Okay,
it's
so
gonna
I'm
be
an
a shall.
applicant. I come in front of the board,
Yeah.
what's the process?
You need
You'd have to have a bond or letter of credit or escrow.
You'd have to show by means of a financial institution that you have enough money to complete the project.
Right.
I think that not everybody might know the difference between may and shall legally.
May means that the board can either require it or not require it, and shall means that the board will require it. So that's the difference.
Are we applying this to major projects only, or?
Yes.
Shouldn't that state that in there?
Well, it is stated in the ordinance. So nobody else, yes?
The board is always, I think it's in the ordinance, I think the board has always had the option of requiring this, but apparently there's been some incidences where you folks have spent a lot of time and lawyers' fees and a lot of money. And it's, you know, it's a draw of your goodwill and your volunteerism, we appreciate that. But it has been in there, but it hasn't really been, the question hasn't been asked. Can you afford this? Yeah, and I imagine it's I don't know, it's a difficult situation sometimes, I suppose.
It makes it uniform, and it does require us to do it, which overcomes the reluctance, because then it makes it something we do need to ask about if it looks to be a project of major size. We have had some things that the town might have been better served if we had decided to have the economic information that might have changed the way it worked.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one, which is Section 7, site plan review, D, administration. There's quite a number of changes that have been made to this, mostly having to do with some of the wording and the dates that are required for posting. Has everybody had a chance to review this? Which is, basically, it's this amended ordinance right here, if you have the colored copies.
It tightens it up.
What's that?
It tightens it up and clarifies it.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
Yes.
So when we decided to have a town planner, this whole ordinance got revamped, and the responsibility of doing all the notification was put on the applicant, so they would do it. And when we got to a planning board meeting, sometimes we'd have no proof that somebody actually received a certified mail or that the advertisements were actually properly published. So within this, we're putting that responsibility back onto the town to do it at the applicant's expense. So that would be for a public hearing and completeness of application meetings for the planning board. So that was one of the big things. We also, what else did we do? Notification of 2 newspapers, and I believe we're gonna add a little bit of a change, because within here, it doesn't state that public notifications have to be posted. So we're gonna send this back to the select board, saying we need to have that in there.
Yeah.
So we feel that it would be okay to do that without breaking any laws or any rules, because we're not substantially changing what this ordinance is supposed to do. It doesn't go back verbatim. And should the select board elect not to do it, that's fine, that's their prerogative, but it will probably be something on a warrant next year's town meeting.
The other thing, David, we clarified the number of days to calendar days
Yes.
versus
Yes.
regular days,
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
working days.
Does anybody, yes?
Can someone point to me in all of the verbiage here, I'm assuming it's section D, paragraph 3,
Yeah.
what the definition of a butter is and who will get the notices?
Okay, these refer to section, is it section 7E or 7G3, I believe?
Yep.
So you'd have to go to section 7G3 in the ordinances to get that description of who gets notified.
David, wasn't it that they took a 500-foot
Yes.
radius?
Don't
For
get away
abutters?
with that, but-
Yeah, there's a whole,
It's a whole table.
a whole table,
Yeah.
the whole, yeah, but we were advised by the attorneys to go to 1,000, but we retained
We
500.
reduced it so that anybody within a 500-foot radius of where the project is, drop a compass and scroll it out.
That was for major projects.
Yep.
Well, I would have preferred the 1,000 foot. We've had some issues with major projects just not too long ago. That some of us who were outside that area weren't notified, and it was in our interest to be notified. So,
Yeah, the process that we determined was there's a substantial cost for all those notifications. And the thought was that we have many more projects that are smaller in nature and they would be under the same requirement and it'd be a financial burden to them.
It's, well,
But this is also 500 feet from the external portion of that property, not from necessarily the project.
from the
itself.
property line.
Correct, yeah.
Still.
But you'd still be able to see online the notifications and in the paper for that project, and you still have a right to speak.
Well, I understand that, but if you don't know about it, you don't know about it. So.
And that's why we were saying, although it wasn't written here, MMA says that things only have to be posted right on the front door. And we're saying for the townspeople, it should be posted at the transfer station, Jordan's, our usual places where we frequent, so that people will have a chance to see it and will know about it, as well as the town website.
We're also looking at a bylaw change called the Good Neighbor Policy that would allow us to, I think, to extend the would allow us to extend notice to some persons if they're on like a dead-end road, et cetera. And that might be, that was something we could take into account if we looked at a major project in these areas. And the question on that that came up was cost. I would hate to see it become too excessive for the applicant. So we might think in terms of maybe extending it from the normal 500 to 1,000 or something as part of the thing.
Specific cases.
In cases like that, I don't know.
So we built it in. Yeah.
You take it way down the far end of Peabody Pond Road up towards Bridgeton, that'd be quite an expense. Maybe you just say 1,000 feet rather than the normal 500 in that circumstance. But I think leave ourselves some flexibility to do that. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments on that specific ordinance?
That's good.
Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one. Table 1, land uses in the shoreline zone. This is specifically under F, structures accessory to allow uses, including accessory apartments, and so in limited residential, it would, the authority would go from the CEO to the planning board. Does anybody have any comments that they want to make on that ordinance? Seeing none, we'll move on to the last ordinance change, which is state mandated floodplain management ordinance. Recommended changes. We're just basically adopting the state's ordinance on that, which basically changes some of the wording that they had from professional engineer to qualified professionals. And there are some other changes.
They define qualified professional as well.
Yeah, qualified professional, yeah. And engineering judgment to standard practices. And some changes to the wharf pier and dock section. And they've also added a definition for what a qualified professional is at the end of that. Does anybody have any comments about that ordinance?
This was actually a much larger ordinance change, but in Sebago, we're only affected by a portion of it. We don't have all the flood zones around the ocean and all those areas that are affecting us. So we just sorted out the pieces that belonged in Sebago, and that's what's there.
Seeing no other comments, we'll close the public hearing. Okay, so we'll open up the planning board meeting. It's 6:17. Welcome to the April 29th Planning Board meeting for the town of Sebago. I would like to call this planning board meeting to order. Time is 6:18. We will take a roll call. Those members here in attendance. Paul White.
Present.
Tina Vaness.
Here?
Robert Liberty.
Yeah.
David Welch here. David McCarthy.
Here.
And we acknowledge the town staff. Jim Seymour, Town Planner, and Garrett Jones, Executive Secretary. This is a public proceeding, not a public hearing, and unless the planning board specifically votes to go into executive session, anyone here has the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all exhibits or materials that are presented. Please notify the chairperson if you are unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda, which is available at tonight's sign-up sheet. Correspondence, is there any correspondence? Nope, seeing none. We will review the minutes of April 8th. Does anybody want to make a
I make a motion, we accept the minutes from the April 8th meeting.
I'll second.
motion made and seconded? All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion? Discussion? Any discussion? No? All in favor? Unanimous? And we will, okay, the April 24th site walk minutes, we will review those, and does anybody want to make a motion on those? I'll make a motion that we accept the site walk minutes from April 24th. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
No, like, man.
David,
I
excuse me,
abstained.
David abstained,
I
he wasn't at the
there.
sidewalk, excuse me. Okay, now we will open this meeting to public questions not related to an application. Does anybody have any questions not related to an application? Seeing none, we'll move into old business, ordinance changes discussion. Is there any discussion on the ordinance changes that we've just discussed? No? Everybody good?
Well, are we sending those changes
Yeah.
to the select board?
Yes,
We made a formal motion for that.
we will. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So would somebody like to make a motion that we send it to the select board?
I make a motion that we send the ordinances with the approved changes from the select board, planning board to the select board.
Second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, continue with old business. Did we table the application for Northwest River Road at the last meeting? Do we have to take that off the table? Or? Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to take that off the table, which is map 023, lot 071, 286 Northwest River Road, application submitted by Ann Pudister regarding a proposed plan to demolish an existing structure on a non-conforming lot and to replace it with a new home. Would somebody like to make a motion to take that off the table?
I'll make a motion that we take that off the table.
Second? Paul seconds. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay. The application was accepted as complete at our last meeting, so we move on to substantive review. And so Kurt, would you like to make your presentation?
Sure. So you all have maps in front of you, I'm sure. What we're doing is we're proposing to tear down an existing home on the Northwest River Road, relocating it to make it less non-conforming on the lot, and we're applying for a building permit application. You folks came out and did a site walk, and so I guess I'm here to answer any questions or concerns at this point.
On this project, there was going to be several trees that were going to be removed, and I'm assuming that you've had discussion with the CEO on
Yes, sir.
replacing those trees. As Kurt said, we went on a site walk, and the building is set 100 feet off from the water. You've reduced the sideline setbacks and the road setbacks on the building that you want to
Correct.
put in. And the septic system is, what, 12 years old? And it has been recently inspected and pumped,
Yeah.
or at least pumped
And inspect.
and inspected. Okay. Does anybody have any questions that Kurt?
All fees have been paid, everything's been done?
List.
Yeah, fees were paid at the last
He's repaid before the last.
Okay.
Yeah. And Kurt, you had attend to some drainage issues down the driveway adjacent to it.
She owns both properties.
She owns both properties, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Something to prevent it from, because you can see it's rushing down there, bringing sand and then feeding down into that bare little cove there, and probably increases the likelihood of phosphorus runoff. Do something about that.
That's the one that's in.
That'll all be stabilized and silt fences, probably not silt fences, but erosion control mixture will be placed there during construction. And I'm not gonna say it won't, we're not gonna be able to stop it completely because that runoff comes off the road. It's not a town road,
Something to slow it
not a
down.
private, I guess it's a private road, I'm not sure. I'm kind of the road commissioner,
The
but
road in front of the house.
I'm not official road commissioner, so.
The road in front of the house is private.
So Bob, was that a condition that you wanted to make, or?
I just wanted to mention that from the sidewalk, it looks like there's a pretty good washout down the driveway next
It's
door.
not the driveway on this property,
No, I
so
know.
it's really doesn't, it's not really pertinent to this particular, but we, like I said at the site walk, we will do everything we can to
Yeah.
prevent that erosion. That's what we do.
Nothing needs,
That's what we do.
Yeah.
nothing needs to be done because it's just the one next door.
Nothing enforcement action.
Right. Do you have anything to add to that, Jim? No? Looks like a pretty straightforward job.
Pretty simple, I
Yeah.
think.
It's a tight fit though, isn't it? I mean, getting
Not
the-
compared to Long Beach.
You're picking on me now.
Just,
Actually, it's
but
not.
no, it's
Just-
not, it's not that bad. It's not that bad compared to Long Beach and Woods Cove and other areas
The
I
only-
was just thinking maybe it's
that
gonna
we
be.
work in.
The only recommendation I would make is just because the setback from the shore is so tight, that it just be staked prior to construction.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Just so they know where that line is and you don't get any of the structure in it.
Okay. Would you think that we should make that a condition? Or just do
That's
it?
standard building practice.
That's
Should be
standard building
standard
practice,
practice.
between myself
Yep.
and
All right.
CEO.
Just need to communicate with the CEO before you start that it's been staked out.
Garrett, a quick question. Did we take a vote to enter into substantive review?
Not last meeting, and not this meeting.
Not this meeting, okay. We should do that. Would somebody like a motion that we enter into substantive review? Bob makes a motion, I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, sorry about that.
What's that?
Oh,
The formality.
Housekeeping.
yeah,
Oh, that's
housekeeping.
fine.
Okay, does anybody feel that we need to have a public hearing? No?
This isn't really a site plan.
No.
review. I mean,
We've already
it's
voted.
not, it's not a subdivision either,
Right,
right?
right.
It's a building permit.
Yeah, no, it's just a formality.
Oh, another formality. Okay.
Yeah, we have all kinds of
That's
formalities.
fine, you do you.
All right,
We gotta
So-
put down.
yeah,
We may
So,
have voted on that last meeting, but you can vote again if you'd like.
Should be in the minutes if it was.
I'll make a motion that there's no need to hold a public hearing. Tina seconds.
Yeah, it
Any
was.
discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Unanimous.
Yeah, last meeting it was voted to
I think that
forego.
That was discussed, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We were in one.
All right, so how do we want to move forward with this project?
Go through the list.
Go to the voting matrix?
Yep,
Yeah, it's the voting matrix, right?
yep. So. All right. Everybody has their copy of the voting matrix?
Everybody need one?
I've got one. Everybody has a copy, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so we'll get out through the list. Buffers, screening, landscaping, natural features.
I make a motion that this project meets all Sebago standards for those concerns.
Okay, everybody,
I
everybody.
didn't hear what you said, Dave.
I make a motion that this project meets all of Sebago standards for the buffer screening, landscaping, and natural
Oh, gotcha,
features.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
I'll second it.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, burden on municipal services.
I make a motion that this creates no burden, no additional burden on municipal services.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Congestion, unsafe conditions.
I make a motion that this does not create any more congestion or unsafe conditions that already exist, than what already exist.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
It was a good way of putting that, David.
Groundwater protection.
I make a motion that groundwater protection precautions have been stated, understood, and meet our standards.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Hazards, nuisances.
I make a motion that this does not create any hazards or nuisance other than those that already exist.
Second that.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I think that, I was gonna say that the condition of that old building is such that replacing it's a good thing for safety and the impact on neighboring properties.
Not to mention those pine trees.
Looks like it was built, it was, one time it was the upper part was just a camp, and then they did some odd thing of building sort of a lower section to the thing, yeah.
Oh, sure.
So that can be replaced by something.
Yankee ingenuity, put that down.
There's one too many, one
Lots of
right.
add-ons.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous. Impact on neighboring properties.
I make a motion that this does not have any negative impact on neighboring properties.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Off-street parking and loading.
I make a motion that the off-street parking and loading on this property has been improved and is better than the existing property there.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Open spaces, part A, B, and C.
I make a motion that this is not applicable to this project.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Outdoor displays and storage. I'll make a motion that outdoor displays and storage is not applicable.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Proper operation of proposed use.
I make a motion that this is not applicable to this residential property.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Public health, safety, and welfare.
I make a motion that this meets all of our public health, safety, and welfare conditions within the town.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Scenic, where are we? Scenic areas, natural beauty.
I make a motion that this isn't applicable.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Shoreline vegetation, visual access.
You mentioned you were gonna take down some trees, are they within 100 feet, or those are just the ones back around the house?
There's a couple within 100 feet, Paul. Majority of them are beyond 100.
So you can discuss with the CEO maybe at some replanting whether they are, she wants it to or not.
I have that for a conditional approval that
That's in there.
they will get together.
Yeah.
So I make a motion that this will meet the shoreline vegetation and visual access for this project.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Well, basically that comes down to whether Christina wants to have you do any replanting.
Correct. Now, am I correct in assuming that we're now paying a price per tree?
I don't know what there's a
Have
fee
to
on
ask the
it.
selectmen.
I believe it's 25.
Have to ask the selectmen?
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
That's a fee, so we don't get into
I think the
that.
requirement is to replace the trees with what, at least a 3-foot in height
Yeah,
tree or
there's a
something?
point system.
It
there.
Yeah,
depends,
there's
the
a
whole
point system.
matrix of
Yeah.
things.
Point
But,
system. I would just say work it out with the code office.
Yeah,
yeah, no, I just.
I spoke with Christina about that, she said she was gonna work it out with you, so, yeah. All right, so did we have a motion? We had a motion, did we make a motion, did we get a second? Second.
I would say one last thing is that if you look at the fire recommendations, they're not keen on having trees too close to the houses, so that can be kept in mind. But go ahead.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous? Soils.
That's how we get it.
I'll make a motion that the soils conditions are favorable.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
Yep.
Special features.
I mentioned that the cove is a special feature, but I don't think there's any negative effect.
You making a motion, Paul?
No, I just was making a comment.
Yeah, I don't think it falls under the definition of special area. I get, you think it's a special area, but I don't think it falls under, I think it.
I wasn't objecting.
I think it's not applicable.
All right, no, but
Could we take 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 together?
Why not?
Yeah. I make a motion, we take traffic utilities, waste disposal, and other as one item. And that this project meets all those requirements set forth by the town.
I'll second that.
You still have to do 15 though. I don't think you made a motion for special
Yes,
features.
yeah. Got to do 15, include 15 in that motion.
included that.
I think you
Okay.
just did something there.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
well, make sure we've got the fees paid if you want to include 20.
Yeah. Fees have been paid.
The fees have been paid.
Fees have been paid.
And do 20.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, okay.
So we'd have to do number 15.
You included it.
No, we just included it.
What do you think they mean by special?
If you look at the definition, it implies
So now we're ready to,
Yep.
Screening for special equipment, like, dumpsters and air conditioning units and heat pumps and that.
More careful, properly addressed under
The pool behind that fence. I guess that's being paid.
scenic areas, but
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on to approving with conditions or denying the application. So, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this project with the condition that the code enforcement officer and the owner get together on a reforestation plan for the trees that were removed.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Getting rid of some of these big pines is a good idea because they're getting to the point where they fall down and smash them, so
Yep.
no problem.
And I've had lengthy discussions with Christina. 2 or 3 times we've met down there,
Yeah.
pretty much under control.
All in favor? Sure. Unanimous? All right.
Good luck to you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
guys. Appreciate your time.
Okay, so moving on, under new business, map 038, lot 022, 557 Peabody Pond Road, pre-application submitted by Chad and Kelly Snow to request an expansion located within the shoreline zone.
I'm Rob Sutter, I'm representing the owner.
Would you like to make your presentation?
Yep, that's a pretty basic project. They've got a 9-foot by, 9-foot by 10-foot screen room. We're enlarging it to, removing it and enlarging it to 12 by 14. We've already applied for the permit by rule, done the notifications. I just got the confirmation that the permit by rule for the DEP was approved on my way here. So that's the only information we don't have. So, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, looks like a pretty simple project.
Yeah.
Pre-application meeting, but do we want to, how do we want to move forward with this? Town planners determined that the application is complete?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a minor project. It falls under minor.
Yeah. Has there been any, the fees are all paid?
That I don't know. I got the.
Yeah. Fees are paid?
Yes. Okay.
Was the porch non-conforming?
Yes, the whole structure is non-conforming.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's all inside 100%.
That's helping in that regard.
Okay.
But
What's that? I'm sorry.
you're not encroaching anymore on the sidelines?
No,
or
we are
the- Or the
going-
water or the road or anything?
It's the least extent practical.
Yeah, we're going straight back.
On the back side then, so looking at it,
And they actually had a surveyor come out and mark the corners and do a surveyed plan to make sure that we weren't going any closer to the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So I've put the plan over, it looks like it's, looks like a good plan. How does the board want to move forward with this project?
I think we should find the application complete and
All fees
move it
are,
forward.
all fees are paid?
All the fees
And then
paid,
what's the
including
current status of water and septic?
It's shut down for the winter.
I mean, is it getting water out of the pond, or they have a well?
I believe they're getting it out of the pond. They did not tell me that specifically, but
What's their disposal? I mean, is it?
they have an updated septic system for the downhill station.
The system was pumped, what, exactly a year ago
Somewhere in
today?
that ballpark.
Somewhere.
She said it was just done, or recently done.
On the 29th of last year, yeah.
Yeah.
And it just sits on stones or on posts down by the pond?
Yes, yeah, it's all on.
And all you're talking about
Miscellaneous.
doing is taking the porch that sticks out and making it another, whatever feet towards.
Yes, we're adding
towards the-
5 feet back towards the driveway, away from the pond. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
just,
there is a septic in there, yeah.
yeah, so I
Yeah,
think
to
the
the
only
back,
thing,
to the back of the
I think the only thing this board's really responsible, I mean, because obviously Christina's gonna be issuing the building permit, is I just think you need to find that the addition is least extent practical. I think that's the only motion that you really need, because the rest of it's being reviewed by Christina.
Seems to meet the square footage if you look through the
Yeah.
documents.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Christina about that today, and, yeah,
Just to kind of keep it somewhat simple.
right, yeah.
So you don't have to go through that whole
Yeah, it's a
matrix.
pretty simple thing.
Let's make this a KISS project. You know that one?
Keep it simple, stupid.
That's it.
Do we need a motion to accept the application?
Yes.
I make a motion that we accept this application as complete.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
You're, Mr. Seymour, you're in agreement? That's
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, so,
What was that phrase you used?
Most extent practical. That's the-
most practical extent,
Yeah.
is that what it is, most practical
The
extent?
most, yeah, now you got me tongue twisted.
Oh, wait,
Extent
most
most practical.
Is that what
Yeah,
it
the
is?
expansion is, the expansion is extent most practical.
Most practical.
Yeah, because it's a non-conforming, so you're pushing it further away from the,
Right, right.
from the non-conformist.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So do we want to move to approve this?
Yes.
All right. Once again, get out your voting matrix.
No, we don't need to do that.
No, we don't need to do that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh,
Do we want to waive that? Want
Yeah, I
to
make
make
a
a motion
motion,
that
we
we
waive
waive
this matrix on this.
Second it.
Just comes down to building a slightly bigger porch.
Right, that's it.
That's it.
All right.
Motion seconded.
Motion made, motion seconded.
It's
Any
the exact
discussion?
motion,
Waive the matrix.
waive the matrix.
Yeah. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion to approve the project?
I make the motion that we approve this project as it is the extent most practical.
Most extent practical.
Most extent practical.
There you go.
Tongue twister.
Tongue twister.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
All set?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Say that 3 times, Dave.
Extent most practical.
Most extent practical.
Extent.
That's how it's worded in the
Yeah.
the ordinance, but
Okay.
I don't know if that's correct grammar or not, but we're done.
So moving right,
Is that only particular
Most
to
practical extent. Why don't they say?
shoreline zoning,
Yes.
that phrase?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't they just say most
Or
practical
any-
extent?
best extent practical, most
There you
extent
go.
practical?
Would it be
You are the teacher
any,
here.
would it be
I'm
any,
just saying it. I don't know.
I'll look it up. While you guys have a discussion, I'll look up the actual.
Hand it back to you, covered in
I don't
red.
know if the wording really
Most
matters.
practical extent.
yeah.
As long as you got those 3 words in it.
Yeah.
Well, would that be applicable to setbacks also, that phrase? Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in a non-conforming situation, that's,
Okay.
when you replace something, you're not making it more non-conforming.
Thank you.
In this case, it's about shoreline zoning because you're pulling it away. The building is within the 100-foot setback, but you're adding on
The other side.
most extent practical.
Further away from the
Away
water.
from the resource, basically.
All right, so now we're going to move on to other business. Scheduled tentative meeting for May 27th and June 24th, excuse me.
These are necessary
Say that again.
for the ordinance to be moved forward.
I think these
These are more for applications,
Yeah.
because the May 13th one is already full up, we already have 4 on that.
Wow.
So just so that we don't get super backed up,
The
Christina and I thought it was a
applications,
good idea
where
to
the
have a second
applications
meeting.
for.
Now, the ordinance review committee has tentatively scheduled a meeting for the 27th. So that's 4 of us that are on this board.
May
Do you
27th.
know, Garrett, what the items are?
I
Do
know that.
you remember off the top of your head?
I have it written down on a whiteboard out there, but
Okay.
there's,
There's a
several other
reapproval,
things.
reapproval for Anderson, right?
Yeah, there's, I have to go check, just to be
Yeah.
sure.
So that's,
But I know that there's 4 on that.
Yeah, I don't think we're at the point where we need a second, but depends on how long you deliberate sometimes. But I think there's a couple that'll go relatively quick. So, I mean, the other thing is just, for notification purposes, if you do want to have a second meeting, we need to know sooner rather than later for notification purposes.
well, I'd rather not have a second meeting.
Unless something comes up and there would be enough time between the,
Well, the other thing you could do is you could, if you do run over, you could extend your meeting a little longer if you want to clean it up,
Yeah.
rather than have a second meeting.
I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
than-
Okay with that?
Yeah, busy time of the year. It's busy,
It is.
busy for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
so we're saying no to a May 27th meeting.
I am.
right.
But
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what day are we talking about for the
The
next?
27th of May.
So the next meeting, the next actual meeting
Are
is,
any of them looked on as major projects?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So basically, we should be able to go through them and.
Yeah, a couple of them are gonna go really quick, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a
We
couple
may
that
need
might.
sidewalk, et cetera, public hearing, but we'll address that.
Your next
It
regular
wouldn't
meeting,
be that night anyway.
yeah, your next regular meeting is May 13th.
Right.
Okay, so we're not gonna do it the 13th, we're doing it the 12th?
No, we're gonna do it,
We're gonna do it the
have a
13th.
regular,
We're not
the
gonna do it
13th.
They were thinking that we might need a second if we have enough items, but
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd rather
But that
take
2
a
days.
break and go an extra hour than
yeah,
Me too.
yeah. All right.
get some
So,
coffee then.
we don't have to vote on that, right?
No, you would don't have to make a motion
Yeah,
on that.
okay. All right, so our
June
next
24th.
planning board meeting is on May 13th. And do we want to have a workshop?
Well, we have to address the issue of whether you want to meet on June the 24th. You mentioned May the 27th, and the 24th. So why do we feel we might need a meeting on June the
I think
24th?
you might just want to delay that one till after your May 13th meeting.
Look
see
at it
where we're at.
again.
Yeah, and just, I think it's just to bring notification to you guys that there's applications coming in. So-
Yeah, might as well have a workshop at the next meeting and discuss
You're not gonna be
whatever's
here
come up.
on June
I
24th?
don't know, I'm not gonna be here from May 27th to June 7th.
Going to Colorado?
You won't miss it.
You
You
won't
won't
miss
miss
it.
anything because we're not gonna have it.
That's all.
Going to
I'm
Colorado?
going to Colorado ski grandkids.
Yeah.
And I will not be here the next year.
You will not be here.
Ryan and Rogan?
All right, does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Oh,
excuse me, wait a
This
second.
gentleman would like to
We-
make a comment.
So do we want to have a workshop on the 13th?
Never hurts.
Yes, okay.
Do you
5:30?
have something you want to workshop?
Yeah.
Or just get together and kumbaya?
Well, we can, look if there's any
I'm running to
issues.
finish the lady, I'll place her in, so.
Yeah, it does give you time to shuffle through things, right, yeah.
Yeah, you want to have a workshop, I have an updated site plan application that I could send you, because you gave me one that had a bunch of extra information on it, and I basically just crossed it.
Okay, yeah, that would be
So
good.
I can present that to
Yeah,
you
that would
guys,
be
so you
really
can have a look at it.
And unless we have a specific agenda, you want to just meet at 6?
Well,
He's got, Garrett's
Yeah.
got something for us.
All right,
5:30?
5:30.
Yeah, okay,
Merle's
that's
got a
great.
question.
What was that, Gary? I'm sorry, I was,
I have like an updated site plan review application that I can show you guys.
Yeah,
we'll look at that then.
The form.
yeah.
Sounds good, 5:30, May the 13th.
Yep.
Yes, Brown?
I hate to go back to the ordinances, but I thought of something after the fact. On the table one, the land use in the shoreline zone, the line that's being changed includes a footnote, and none of the footnotes are included in this presentation. And I was thinking that maybe you want to consider before sending it to the select board or on to the town meeting, you may want to add the definition, so people may want to know what it is. Footnote 4.
Yeah.
I think we had that discussion before, we were gonna add those in, so.
Yep.
That came up
They
earlier.
should have put those remain attached.
It doesn't change anything as far as what you're, it just gives a little more information as to what the footnotes mean.
Oh, yeah.
Irv, I didn't hear you. Where was the footnote that was missing?
Under, like that use, it has PB4 on the table for shoreline zone. So what does 4 mean? What is the 4 referencing?
What's PB9? Yes, too, I don't know.
There, when you go to actual, in the shoreline zoning table, on the back,
Oh, yes, yeah.
it has all those numbers. So that, what he's just saying is that index of numbers should be included with this table for clarification. And we had discussed that before.
We did.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah, we did.
But it didn't get on
What
the,
are, what are they, 1 through 11 or 1 through 13 or something
I
like
don't remember
that?
discussing that, but.
it's in the front, it's actually crazy because it's actually before the table.
Yeah.
It's 1
It's in there
through
somewhere.
13.
13. 13 is town planner.
Unlucky guy.
Okay.
And actually 4 is, provided that a variance from a setback requirement is obtained from the Board of Appeals.
Yeah.
That's only in the stream protection district, so.
Proof positive, Merle, that none of these ordinances stand alone. They're very interwoven.
I won't make it prove now.
All right, so,
All right, motion to adjourn.
get your motion, we adjourn, second? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Drive safe.
See you the
Come on,
13th.
let's go stand there.
Keep you busy?
Yes, over busy.
I just-